Welcome to Random Witchcraft with your host, Vix.
And Callie, what up, people?
This week, we're going to dive into what could we call it this time?
We're not really diving in unless you're going into the ocean to forage.
Yeah, we're exploring foraging today.
Foraging is fun. It can be a little daunting if you're not accustomed. Because you're like, well, what can I forage? Or what do I need a permit?
Yeah, the best way to start is always start off with scouting areas and learning what plants are around you. You might be surprised, there might be some really nice ones that are very useful.
Yep. Very true. But we always recommend to end up checking with your local law or even just your state law.
Always make sure it's legal and you're actually collecting plants that are legal and not gonna harm you, or you're not gonna harm the ecology of the area that you're taking it from.
Mm-hmm. Like many states, including Arkansas and California, allow some things to be foraged, others not. Like poppies are not allowed.
The California poppy is not legally able to be foraged because it is the state flower, and it is also technically a narcotic.
Mm-hmm.
It is the main component to make opium. In other words, heroin.
Then, you know what? Cheese should be illegal.
Yeah. Another one is white sage. Because that one tends to be over harvested.
Yeah.
You can get into a lot of trouble in Southern California for trying to harvest white sage.
Now, it is legal if you see, let's say you're out and about and someone has a huge property and you see something that you need to forage or you want to. You can ask them if you can gather some of that plant material with access. But in the end, as long as you ask and you're able to get that permission, you're not illegally foraging.
Yes, always ask for permission, including the local spirits, whether they be the fae or the nature spirits. You never know. You don't want to piss off one of them.
Now, in some states, you are allowed to get a permit as low as $5. I know here in the state of California, it is actually $2 to forage in all of the state parks. The foraging license that you pay is for the month. It's $2. And you're able to go and forage in some of the state parks. You're allowed to forage the mushrooms, certain plants. The only thing that you're not allowed to forage with that license is the California state poppy and some of the shells and stuff that you see on the beach.
Side note, weird thing about California. A fishing license does include gathering amphibians and reptiles.
Yes.
Just as long as they're not venomous. You have to have a special permit for venomous animals. Not that it's a good thing to take animals from the wild. If you want it as a pet, more than likely you're going to find it as a captive bred animal. But enough on that tangent.
Other than that, some laws will let you do, some states will let you even go publicly foraging through everywhere, because they believe that if you are involved in nature and taking care of the state by foraging, you're going to end up helping the state by staying green, because you're not going to want to freaking forage where it's, you know, people have been throwing trash, dirty needles, whatever X may be.
Yes, always clean up after yourself, and if you see trash, pick up said trash.
Like in Utah, if you end up foraging, you pay your license to forage in one of the parks, the national parks, and you bring the trash that you've collected while you were foraging, they actually give you a return license for you.
So pretty much they give you a free license for the next time? Cool.
But it's all, you know, on how you manage it. And if they see that you're a return and you end up helping, they offer you a voluntarily, like, from one of the people that I've read on here, they're like, yeah, I'm a volunteer park staff, and I don't have to pay for my license as long as I continue to regulate and monitor other people to make sure that they're doing it right, that they're following the golden rule of 3. And the golden rule of 3 is if it's 1/3 of the mushrooms, plants, berries, or even fruit that is there is left, you must leave it be, for one, to keep it reproducing more fruit, because once a plant or fruit tree has no more, it's thinking that it's heading into the winter. The other one is that the other reason why they say leave the 1/3 alone is because it gives nourishment to the rest of the animals that are still there. They'll end up eating that fruit or carrying that pollen or whatnot to procreate that plant.
Is it procreate or propagate?
Propagate, I believe. But propagate, you know, it's all just giving birth to new
Words.
Words, they're hard. But, and then the last one is, if you see it, only one of those plants or items there, leave it be. And try to leave something stating to other people, or if you see other foragers, be like, oh, this area is kind of low, don't go there, let it be. Give the respect to, you know, nature, to let it blossom a little more.
And other types of foraging. Not that it isn't badass being like a badass green witch going out and foraging for your own food. But technically you can forage in like graveyards. Searching for items that aren't necessarily grown. Like graveyard dirt, rusty nails. Depending on your witchcraft. Make sure you search and actually find out what the local state laws, county, and city laws involving taking things from like graveyards. And always ask permission if you're going onto construction sites trying to find rusty nails. Yeah, I believe there was a... You can definitely get into a lot of trouble in graveyards if you don't know the laws.
Yes. There was actually just recently in Southern California, there was a trial based on the fact that this young woman is a practicing witch, went to visit her recently deceased family member at the family grave. She had asked permission to gather some dirt from the facilitating of the management of the gravesite before she even did it. Somebody else had called the police saying that she was grave robbing. And she was like, how am I robbing a grave if I am just simply retracting some of the grass around, my family member's grave, and I'm simply just putting the excess dirt into a jar? How is this grave robbing? And they're like, but that's the property of somebody else. She's like, I asked the managing property owner if it was okay. Let alone the case was thrown out, but again, we refer to asking, getting permission, and if yet need be, and she was a very smart woman, she had said, I'm not recording your face, but I am recording this conversation. She did have the conversation recorded, stating, I am asking if it is okay if I can take some of the dirt that I pull away from the gravestones.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. Ask permission of the ones that own the cemetery, too.
Mm-hmm.
Or graveyard.
Wherever you go, our main recommendation, our whole base, yes, it is a natural instinct, a human instinct to go and forage and gather the things that you need. But there's been many articles in the past of many people writing why the government puts so many laws on foraging. Because there was one called U.S. government getting angry about people biting the hand that feeds them. Yes.
Explain.
It's just an article explaining about how a bunch of people had ended up getting in trouble on a state that doesn't really enforce, oh, hey, you want to forage? Go right ahead. You want to live off the land? Go right ahead. But because some government officials got angry because there was people that were not buying mushrooms from the store anymore. Not buying certain things because they were making it themselves. And they're like, well, how are we going to end up surviving if people don't end up buying this? So technically they ended up getting upset with them and going like, well, no, you're biting the hand that feeds you. We give you all of this, but you're not, providing back on paying taxes, paying this.
Yes, most places of the U.S., it is illegal to live off the grid and live off the land.
Mm-hmm.
They always want the taxes.
But the funny thing is that a lot of people end up going, well, how come it's illegal? Well, it's illegal because they want the taxes. But they don't realize that even though you're not paying the taxes on certain foods or certain things, you are still giving money because those people just don't permanently solely live off the land. They have a job. They're just, convert their house or their huge van into their house. they're still freaking having to put gas in that. Taxes right there. You still end up having to freaking end up, buying your hygiene products. Taxes right there. Like it's just a little thing that ended up making it hard for the government to end up taxing. Mushrooms are something that grows everywhere.
And know what kind of mushrooms are what, because you don't want to go out either have a complete trip or poison yourself.
Very true.
Well, some people might want to go out for a good trip.
Yes. But it all just depends on everything. Like, there's another, a National Geographic made a whole article on why did humans stop foraging.
Same reason why we don't have our own farm animals and slaughter them ourselves.
No established permanent settlements could have provided for much longer populations. It was until we started to settle and be like, hey, we need other people around, that we started to go into that mass produce of, well, we're going to, capture animals, breed them to create more animals. But before, a lot of people just lived off of what they captured. You had to become good at shooting an arrow, skinning the animal, using pelt. You had to learn how to use everything from that animal. Hence why a lot of Native Americans will end up thanking said animal, using every piece of the animal.
Which, interesting. That is interesting that they do use every single bit of the animals that they kill.
Yeah. And some of the pieces that a lot of people go, well, there's certain things that are poisonous if you eat them. Yes. Poisonous to us. Poisonous to some other animals if they end up, back in the day, dipping the tip of their arrow into that poison. How in the world are they, a lot of things that were back then that we find now crude and very undignified was way beyond thinking. Still, a lot of the older information is honestly worlds ahead than our thinking now.
It's all about that wild witchcraft.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing more wild and badass as the green witch that goes out foraging for their own food.
Yeah. And it amazes me because I have a couple of friends that are California Native American. And I was surprised because I was like, oh, those are some awesome knives. They had like these small little knives that, and I was like, oh, they probably just look like bone. No, it was an actual bone knife that they had, and I was like, huh, alrighty then. I was like, oh yeah, this was from the cow that we just killed about a month ago.
Definitely makes you sad for the animals, though.
It's sad, but they also end up going, yes, it's sad because we had to slaughter an animal that I helped raise. But also I'm thankful for the animal giving its life, for nourishing me and about 4 other family members. Family members that have families themselves. And the hide that they got, they had made brand new, boots and stuff for the kids that are going to school.
It's very creative.
It's just, they still hone the ways of hunter and gatherer to, yes, a lot of them are modernized. A lot of them do have cars. They do, but they still have their generational pass downs of, we teach it to you because we want you to carry on the tradition.
Keeping traditions alive.
As practitioners, keep traditions alive.
Sometimes we try to find the traditions.
Everyone has traditions that they have.
Well, sometimes we try to find the ancient traditions. Some witches are more traditional, some are more eclectic.
Yes, but even in the eclectic witch of it all, like me and you are, we're both eclectic witches.
We collect traditions.
We do collect traditions because but we're not collectors in the form of we collect them because they're pretty. We collect that information because it fuels us to become better humans.
Collecting was not a good choice of words.
No.
Learning different traditions is a better way of putting it.
Learning is just another form of collecting.
We are not the collector. Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, you had to go reference that. Weirdo. But like I'm saying, everyone, because some people don't just view it as learning. Like I told you, there's many different ways that people have talk about foraging. They have the cinnamon pour. I recently found out that some practitioners, when they forage, they call it going in raccooning.
I would probably be more like magpie. I like shiny things.
That's also the magpie effect. Or they go, I'm hunting and gathering, or I'm foraging, like we call it. It all depends on where you're at, who you learn from, and where you're gathering your information.
Just remember, no matter what you practice...
Just keep swimming?
No.
Oh, no. Oh, okay.
No matter what your practice, if it works for you, that's your practice.
Very true.
Even if that means going to the top of the hill and checking your titties at the moon. Thank you, Witch of Wonderlust.
You would. You've been stuck with that saying for quite some time now.
Yes.
But...
well, you can always go to the backyard and shake your titties at a tree. I just love those sayings. Gotta love the Witch of Wonderlust.
Yes. But, again, we've always stated when we first started this wonderful adventure of this podcast, be who you are. Be you.
Do your research.
Do your research. Gather that information, because knowledge is power. The more knowledge you have, the more power you have to you.
Well said. There is one reference that you could use that Miss Kelly told me that I'm going to share. You have feralforaging.com.
Yes.
Pretty much tells you what is legal in your area, in the national parks, public land. It's a good place to start to find what you can go look for.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're out in nature, you can go see them birds and them animals too. Take a camera, take some pictures.
Yes.
Talk to the trees, talk to the plants. Get accustomed to the nature spirits that are right in your backyard.
And then there's also fourseasonforaging.com. It gives you times when something is in your area that is able to be foraged.
Yeah, there are certain plants that are only safe or edible in certain parts of the year. Like Russian thistle.
Mm.
In most of the U.S., we refer to them as tumbleweeds. But when they're first growing and you have the green sprouts, those are actually edible. Well, this has been Random Witchcraft with your host, Vix.
Sorry, I have one more.
Oh, one more. And I don't know what you're pointing at. Ooh, wild edible foraging from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. That would also probably have links to like the individual states too.
Yes, it does.
Fish and Wildlife.
Because there's some, like we said, there's some wildlife that you're able to catch because either one, some states feel that wildlife is a non-native wildlife to that state, and they don't need it there. Like frogs, for instance.
Hint, hint, Florida. Trying to get rid of all the big snakes. They suck. Support U.S. ARC. Long story, it's reptile keepers.
Yeah. But, you kind of did something that we weren't going to end up, doing there for a quick sec.
Hey, gotta protect our animals.
I get that, but we also said we weren't going to, cross into that. But that's...
Well, this has been Random Witchcraft. We will talk to you next week. Bye. Just one more thing before we sign off for the day. If you would like to send us any comments, concerns, or any questions, or if you would like to support this podcast, or for any future endeavors, click the links below. Thank you.